voice technology, it's very hard to know where to invest more and where to pull the plug. And it's only going to get harder. With new technologies emerging every day and the convergence of technologies like we've seen with ad tech and martech, it's getting exponentially harder to make sense of them. Even knowing how to apply them with privacy laws and legislation like GDPR makes it murkier than ever. Marketers know it's a problem. Almost all of us report that our top 3 priorities are understanding the customer journey, optimizing our digital marketing mix, and justifying our digital marketing spend. It's even tougher for D2C marketers. Beyond having to prove their contribution to the bottom line, they're trying to topple giant incumbents by testing and optimizing in novel marketing channels to maximize revenue. Trying to understand, let alone prove and communicate that contribution, isn't possible without measurement and attribution. But measurement has to evolve further to keep up. While we've moved away from fuzzy metrics, or old school metrics, to more quantifiable ones like ROI, CPA, and ROAS, we've yet to reach the promised land, which is that direct tie between our actions and revenue. The further your metrics are from directly measuring revenue generation, the less likely you are to get alignment with your CFO, your board, and other critical stakeholders. It's all about survival. Without that alignment, we're seeing more and more companies simply eliminate their CMO positions. It's simply taking too long. Digital has taken over our daily lives as consumers. Mary Meeker tells us that 60% of transactions, from payments to purchases to banking, are now digital. In spite of the complexity of our current digital world, 50% of marketers are still using outdated last-click attribution that oversimplifies our digital experience. Beyond that, even more surprising, we've been able to prove time and time again that there is no correlation between clicks and purchase intent. Meanwhile, we're being asked to move quickly from a cost center to a revenue generator. It started with the click era. In retrospect, we had a simple online buying journey, and measuring through clicks was relatively successful. There was a one-to-one relationship often between an ad and a click to purchase. At the end of that era, we started to see problems with this. Click fraud, bot traffic, and other things made it hard to even understand how much of the traffic we were paying to get to our sites was even human. So we moved into the KPI era, where we searched desperately for other KPIs besides clicks that could validate our marketing spend. And this set us on the path to data-driven attribution. Where we are today is the beginning of the impact era. It's reflected by our strong conviction that we should tie our efforts directly to revenue, but also technology that's bringing us closer to doing that. Though obviously everyone feels this way, it's more real than ever for D2C brands. Though D2C brands are great at acquiring new customers through innovative campaigns and leveraging social, influencer marketing, and word of mouth to grow like crazy, the work can't stop there. As barriers fall down, new D2C brands are popping up every day, and they're making it increasingly hard for consumers to differentiate between your brand and competitors. So let's take a look at the D2C landscape and identify opportunities that you alone can seize. Once upon a time, D2C brands loved Facebook. It was easy to target relevant audiences, to test different offers and messaging, and to drive traffic directly to your site or online store. That's why platforms that removed complexity enjoyed the lion's share of growth with D2C brands. While there's still a heavy reliance on Facebook and Instagram, the most ambitious D2C brands crave and recognize the value of developing deeper, direct relationships with their customers. And they want help doing that, which they aren't getting from walled gardens. They need more. As a D2C brand, you have a unique opportunity. While you've done an amazing job making consumers aware of and interested in you, there's still significant competition from traditional retailers and brick-and-mortar stores to keep those customers. So how can you continue to maintain your competitive edge? The answer lies in customer retention. You can start to do this by thinking far beyond the initial purchase and CPA and creating loyal customers and growing your LTV. So how can you leverage your direct connection to customers to drive growth? First, put aside CPA and CAC goals for a minute and think about long-term growth and LTV. What can you do in the short term and the long term to keep your customers coming back for more? Understand your customers and use those insights to create smarter segments and audiences. And instead of spending money on acquiring repeat customers, invest in loyalty programs. One of the best ways to optimize LTV is to turn your loyalists into evangelists. When you understand how to create evangelists, you have tremendous power to make your customers work for you. Your evangelists become the best marketers in your organization. Case in point, we've taken a hands-on approach to this ourselves. In 2018, we launched our global AdRoll Dare to Grow campaign. The concept was simple: bring to life the growth stories of 15 of our best customers. By creating a powerful way for them to tell their stories, both as brands and as individual marketers, we were able to make an emotional connection to AdRoll's story that never would have been possible just talking about ourselves. We were able to unearth stories we didn't even know were there, such as the case of Jackson Zilko, digital specialist at Specialized. With the help of AdRoll, Specialized was able to increase customer retention by 7% and boost direct traffic conversions by 25%. So how can this work tactically? First, leverage technology to orchestrate seamless, personalized, one-to-one multi-channel experiences to get beyond that initial connection and keep that relationship growing and deepening with your customers. Be careful not to get too creepy, though. It's time to throw away those personalized bobbleheads and take advice from Google Think when we think about personalization. Their 3 tips to be relevant are to be there, be useful, and be quick. Next, you need to leverage measurement to really determine what's impacting your marketing strategy's efficacy. Is it your channel? Is it the targeting? Is it the creative? Is it a mix of all 3? Starting to zero in on those 3 things can help you unlock the potential of your existing customer base. And finally, beyond technology, take advantage of short-term wins. Reinforce that connection to your brand with things like welcome kits, product release updates, email and in-platform messaging that, again, reinforces that connection to your brand. And don't forget to tap your customers for feedback. AdRoll's had tremendous success building deeper relationships by bringing people to our customer advisory board or bringing them into our workplace with digital days. And don't forget to engage directly with social media and social monitoring. And that means both for the happy customers and the unhappy customers. You have all these opportunities I want to challenge you to focus on in 2019. But in order to rise to that opportunity, you have to think like a CGO. So what does that mean? What is a Chief Growth Officer? In short, a Chief Growth Officer is that person who works across silos to drive growth. They are the cross-functional catalyst in their organization that aligns and optimizes teams and activities to reach business goals. In other words, they're the person who gets shit done. But to think like a CGO, you have to be able to do a few things. The first is to assign credit where credit is due. We're in a multi-channel world now, and we need to know the real monetary impact that each channel is having. Second, you have to focus on the entire customer journey. You have to be able to see your customer's whole experience with you if you want the ability to discover patterns across devices, campaigns, or channels, and understand how to improve those investments. And finally, you need the ability to evolve your attribution model. You want to customize the model to assign credit for your campaigns and to look at cross-channel reports to track your ROI. Which all sounds great, but you might be wondering, how can I figure out which channels are working given my existing limited resources? The answer lies in measurement. We know it's a journey and that people aren't going to get to data-driven attribution overnight. Everyone wants to better attribute the revenue driven by marketing dollars, but 50% of us, remember, are still stuck on last click. So let's take a minute and look at why we're stuck on last click. Why are we stuck in the valley when we want to be climbing the mountain? First, it's not your fault. Many of the solutions today take a long time to implement. So you're spending upwards of 6 months to get a solution in place that might take you a year to see value. I think most of us know that we're usually required to report back much quicker than that. Second, the cost of entry is a huge barrier right now. Frequently starting at as much as $20,000 a month, people are having to pick between investing in their digital marketing and understanding the performance of their digital marketing. And finally, transparency is still a big issue with many of the advanced measurement solutions that are available today. They don't explain the pros and cons of the different attribution models available or how they're applying them, making it hard to understand what's behind the decisions that you'll use to drive your business. So this is where your attribution journey begins. First, remember that you're not alone. Fewer than 10% of US marketers think their company's attribution knowledge is excellent. So we all have a long way to go. Plus, there are many different ways to attribute. No matter where you are in your journey, you've likely tried 1 or 2 different attribution models based on your current knowledge and resources. So there are a lot of things to consider no matter where you are. I'm going to talk about 4 quick focus areas that you can start looking at today on your path to data-driven attribution. The first, which I mentioned earlier, is customer journey mapping. You absolutely need the ability to create a holistic view of your customer's experience beyond clicks to convert and reflect the impact of your media. In other words, you need to understand and map everything that you're doing to begin to unpack the value of any individual thing. Second, you need flexibility. You need to be able to test and understand the impact of different rules or set custom rules across touchpoints to move towards shared credit. Once you have that customer journey map, you can actually begin to play around with looking at the impact of sharing credit and understanding what that means to your marketing mix. You need a converting baseline. And what I mean here is you need a way to look at macro trends within your conversions and compare them to macro trends in the industry, with seasonality, and in other ways. You absolutely need cross-channel. So you need to ensure that all media channels and touchpoints are reflected and being evaluated to know if you're being accurate. And once you've been able to focus on these 4 areas, data-driven models are within reach. And at that point, you can do away with the rules and the guesswork and let your data tell you what's actually working best for your business. We know it's not easy. Excuse me. No matter how far along you are in your journey, you're likely to encounter these barriers to success. Internal alignment and even getting everybody on board with focusing on attribution and measurement can be a challenge. Many lack expertise, and sifting through all the different options available seems overwhelming. Even if you know where you want to go, mobilizing the resources, both time and money to get there, can be hard, and there's a lot of risk to working with the wrong vendor and investing all that time and all that money for poor results. Most people are still challenged with the walled gardens and getting real information about their data out of them. And at the end of the day, you may have solutions in place right now that are expensive to move away from. But in spite of all these challenges, the good news is that technology is closing the gap. Even within just the last few years, the advancements that have been made in measurement continue to bring us one step closer to incremental, data-driven revenue. So looking ahead, the journey continues. Whether you're moving from last click to multi-touch, or starting to step away from multi-touch and move towards a truly data-driven model, there's always somewhere to go next. What we're all striving for is that promised land that I mentioned earlier. As you step away from data-driven and towards impact attribution, you're trying to truly understand the causal effect of all your marketing channels to reduce wasted ad spend and focus on what matters. What that means is you're starting to step away from correlation and into causation and really being able to understand what actually caused a purchase. So moving into 2019, AdRoll's on our own measurement journey and really on a mission to democratize measurement and attribution for any size company that's trying to grow. If you have any questions about that or any questions along your own measurement journey, let's talk. Thank you.
Laura, thank you so much. It's great. Okay, so any questions for Laura? We have maybe a couple of minutes here before we have to move into our next phase. Laura, I know you have a colleague because I chatted with him earlier. Is he here? Where are you guys? Oh, right over here. Oh, there you go. Okay, hey. All right, so if you have questions for the team here, this is the AdRoll table right over here. So please stop by and say hi to these guys. Thank you so much for kicking us off on day 3.